morning and welcome to another episode of Hatching for Health with your host, Jessica Hatch. We hope you had a wonderful holiday and are looking forward to the new year just around the corner. We have two mothers that are joining us tonight, and they are actually both call-ins. And so we have the pleasure of getting to speak with two completely separate families on behalf of what their children are going through. The condition that they both have children that have diagnoses of is Laryngomalacia. So this is something we're going to learn about tonight and hopefully inform some others of exactly what this is. So we have Tara as well as Stephanie. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you making yourself available to call in. And so tell me, you have the two children and one of them has this disorder, is that right?
Both of my children have the disorder. My oldest, Jace, is 3.5, and my youngest, Benjamin, is 18 months old.
Okay. And Stephanie, now you have your hands full. You have 4 children, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, welcome. Thank you for being here this evening as well.
Thank you.
And so 3 of your children were diagnosed with this, is that correct?
Correct. I have 4 children and 3 have laryngomalacia and 1 has laryngomalacia and tracheomalacia.
Okay, what was the second part of that?
Tracheomalacia, it's softening of the trachea.
So Stephanie, let me actually start with you, just kind of helping us better understand exactly what this disorder is.
Sure. So laryngomalacia is a disorder of the larynx. It's actually when the larynx is soft or floppy and can cause an airway obstruction for the child. Symptoms include noisy breathing for the most part, but in about 20% or so have severe symptoms, which would include blue spells, failure to thrive, trouble feeding, aspiration, and in that case, surgery is needed.
Oh man, that is a handful of things. Yeah. So is this something that, in this moment in time that there is a cure for, or is it something that it's just about kind of treating it and kind of making the most of, of living with the condition?
Correct. So at this time, there is no actual cure, but in cases where there's severe laryngomalacia, supraglottoplasty surgery is the treatment of choice. And again, like about 20% of children will need that type of surgery, and most do well afterwards.
Oh, that's great. That's really good to hear. So I guess going back to you, Tara, have either of your children had any kind of surgeries as it relates to growing up with this, or have they been just managing it through treatments?
My oldest had a supraglottoplasty at 6 weeks old, and got over the blue spells that he was having, but still had further issues that we've just kind of had to deal with. My youngest, his laryngomalacia was mild moderate, is what he was diagnosed with. And he's just, you can only really hear it when he laughs or is running around a lot. But other than that, he doesn't really have any other issues.
Really? So I guess from looking at, either of y'all's children, is it something that you recognize just by the outside, or is all internally things going on that you wouldn't know without, properly having the right diagnostics done?
So the main symptom of...
Yeah, kind of give you that question on step. Go ahead.
So the main symptom of laryngomalacia is stridor, which is noisy breathing. More severe symptoms, like I said before, would be trouble feeding, choking while feeding, reflux, failure to thrive, blue spells. They would all warrant an appointment with the ear, nose, and throat doctor for a scope in office. And during that scope, the ENT will be able to determine if the laryngomalacia is severe and what treatment is needed, along with what other testing is needed.
Okay. So is the diagnosis something that, like, how young were your children? I'll take it back to you, Tara. Whenever you learned that they had it, was it a fairly young age? You said 6 months old. Your baby had surgery.
My oldest had surgery at 6 weeks old. He was officially diagnosed at a month old. But we knew there was something off from birth. We were just told a bunch of different things that weren't correct, like noisy newborn breathing and like he swallowed meconium when he was born, but it wasn't accurate. He actually had laryngomalacia. And same with my youngest child. We knew right from birth, especially after dealing with what Jace went through, that this is exactly what's going on. We know what it is. And I remember texting Stephanie before anybody knew that Benjamin was born, and I was telling her he has it too.
Wow. So it sounds like it's hereditary. I mean, or at least if you end up having, children together with your spouse, then it's more likely that if one child's born with it, another is. Or did it come from either you or your husband? I guess I'll kind of take that back to you, Stephanie.
So as of now, there's no genetic link for laryngomalacia, and there isn't that much research being done on it, since most children who have it are perfectly fine. They just have some noisy breathing, but it doesn't impact any other organs other than the noisy breathing. So they don't really do a lot of research for it, but there has been something published, I believe it was in the 70s, that suggests that there might be some type of gene mutation, but it hasn't really been proven yet.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it doesn't sound like it anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, like life-threatening for a child. It's more of a...
Oh, no, it's life-threatening.
It is life-threatening,
so,
okay.
Yeah, so about 20% of children with laryngomalacia is life-threatening. Tara's children, as well as mine, were both in that category, and most of the families that our organization serves, Coping with Laryngomalacia, serve families who have children with life-threatening laryngomalacia, and in that case, then surgery is needed.
I see, okay. So, and you mentioned organization. Are y'all both a part of the same organization, or do y'all individually support ones? It's the same?
Yes, so
Go ahead. No, Stephanie, go ahead.
I founded Coping with LM in 2010, shortly after my daughter had her supraglotoplasty. And then in 2017, Tara joined us. We're an all-volunteer nonprofit organization that provides support, strength, and education for families coping with laryngomalacia, bronchiomalacia, tracheomalacia, and pharyngomalacia worldwide.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And what is the name of it again?
Coping with Laryngomalacia.
Okay. And when you took that name out of all the ones that y'all are supporting, why was that? Is that, I guess, more of a common one people have heard of?
Because that's the one that my daughter had her surgery for.
Okay. Okay, very good. And when did you start the organization?
In 2010. So we've been around for a decade already.
Okay. So Tara, did you just kind of stumble across it, or how were you connected with the foundation?
I was in a mom group and I was asking if anyone else's baby had trouble feeding or had really weird sounding breathing that almost sounded like hiccups constantly, like when he would breathe. And a woman tagged Coping with Laryngomalacia, and I joined the caregiver support group, and I was like, oh my goodness, this makes so much sense. This has got to be what it is. And that is the support I found while we were waiting to get into the ENT appointment.
So I guess kind of take me back to that moment, because I feel, I mean, I'm not a mother yet, but I feel like, when something's going on that doesn't seem normal, with a child, especially a baby, and it's like you're just looking for answers. It's like that's your priority, is to figure it out. And then you come across something like that, or someone, when you mention what's going on, someone is able to connect the dots for you. Like, what was that moment like for you?
It was life-changing. Being away from family because my husband's in the military, we didn't really have a lot of support. We had our friends and we had phone calls, but it wasn't the support that we needed of like family being there constantly. It was really hard, but to have that virtual support was absolutely life-changing. Stephanie mentioned Coping with LM serves families worldwide, and part of what she does is a care package program. And once your child is ready to have surgery, you send proof of, that procedure that's happening, and you get a care package sent to you for free. And I remember being in my living room, sitting on the floor, crying because I was just overwhelmed with support, and it was the reality of everything was hitting me, and I felt like I had a village at that point.
Oh, Yeah, and that's incredible. And it's, I mean, moments like this, there's probably, you know, whether or not they see this episode, another mother or father out there like going, oh my gosh, that's probably what's going on, you know? So it's people like you guys that, whether you start the support group or you join it and join forces, that make such a difference like out there in people's lives, rather than just, you know, figuring it out on your own, and but rather being vulnerable enough to say, hey, this is what's going on. Like, I know there's other people I can help from what I've learned and our experiences. So tell me, Stephanie, you actually create a care package. What all does that entail?
Yes. So the start of coping with LM was in 2010, and during that process, my daughter had her supraglottoplasty, and I very much wanted her to have a nice blanket to go into the pediatric ICU with. And I could not find one in our house, and I didn't have enough time to order one online. So that kind of just always stuck with me. And then once coping with LM began, I really wanted to take that and make that into something, because I knew other families would appreciate being wrapped in love and strength with their blankets. So what we do at Coping with LM is, like Tara said, you can apply for a care package. We have a list of approved airway procedures that are qualified procedures to get one. And the child will get a handmade blanket, will get a stuffed animal and a book and some personal care items for mom and dad, because I know how it feels to be rushing to the hospital and not even be thinking about grabbing a toothbrush or shampoo or anything like that. And then in our US care packages, we also give Visa gift cards, because parents are usually in a very tough financial position when they're coping with severe laryngomalacia. And the Visa gift card helps buy gas and food while their child is in the hospital.
That's a great thing. Like, you know, just the thought behind that, I think that goes such a long way, not, you know, combined with the gift card, but then like all of the attention to detail with all the other items to like just make that moment of them know someone, you know, someone cares, and doing it, you know, on a volunteer basis, even if it, you know, means so much, I'm sure. We do have to take a quick commercial break. And during the commercial break, we're going to show some footage from some of Stephanie's family and maybe even some of Tara's, just kind of a little bit of you know, what they're going through, and understand a little bit more about this disorder. So we will be right back with you. Hi, I'm Jessica Hatch, the host of Hatching for Health. We are a show that was brought about to create awareness for children with rare diseases, disabilities, and disorders with hopes of finding cures. We're looking for doctors that would like to participate in being on our episodes, and possibly even bring their own patients on the show to talk about how they have helped cure them, whether it's been surgically or through medication, or any sorts of ways. We think that it's very inspiring for others to learn these stories and to possibly help somebody else. So I encourage you to reach out if you are a doctor who is interested in being on the show and allowing us to highlight not only you, but the work that you've done for a child. You can reach out by emailing at info@hatchingforhealth.org. That's info@hatchingforhealth.org, and we look forward to hearing from you. Being diagnosed with a scary-sounding disease can be frightening. Imagine what it's like for your child. There are over 7,000 rare diseases around the world affecting children. Join me, Jessica Hatch, along with leading experts to help break down medical lingo, explain why and what their little bodies are feeling. Real faces, real stories, and expert advice. And you can watch us on the biggest South Asian TV network in North America, NTV Houston. Welcome back from the break. For those of you who just tuned in, we are joined by two separate mothers that both have children that were born with Laryngomalacia. And so we're talking in depth about this condition and the various things they are doing to help live a better life, as well as some of the surgeries that have taken place on both their children. So coming back, so Tara, with your children again, so one of your child had surgery, you said at 6 weeks old. And then the other one have they had any type of surgery?
No, Benjamin's laryngomalacia was mild, so his wasn't bad enough to need surgery.
Okay. So in healing from the surgery, your 6-week-old, I mean, what was that very intense? Were they having to stay like in the hospital, or were they able to come home shortly after?
Jace went into the PICU for a day and a half, almost 2 days, and then we were able to take him home. But it was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. He improved immensely almost immediately after surgery. It was like a brand new baby. He was so happy. He wasn't struggling as much.
Wow.
So the surgery recovery was not bad for us at all.
So are you able to kind of help us understand exactly what they're going in and doing during that surgery?
Stephanie will probably be able to tell you better than I could.
Yeah, Stephanie, you kind of maybe help us understand a little bit just from a mother's perspective of what exactly they're doing?
Sure. So the treatment of choice when a child has severe laryngomalacia is a supraglottoplasty. During a supraglottoplasty, the ear, nose, and throat doctor will cut usually both sides of the epiglottis tissue to create more room in the airway for when the floppy larynx collapses. This is not a cure for laryngomalacia, but simply a treatment to help life-threatening symptoms. Some doctors will use laser during the surgery, but most use cold steel, and that's usually the best instrument to use during the surgery.
Okay, I see. And that's, you were saying on both sides there, when they're going in, they're actually doing that on both of the sides, whether it's laser or actually cutting? Okay. And so this isn't completely curing them, but it's, I guess, taking away that kind of rough breathing pattern that they would typically have?
Yes, it's creating more room for the floppy larynx to collapse in the airway, so they're not experiencing life-threatening symptoms such as failure to thrive, trouble feeding, aspiration, blue spells. For my daughter, our deciding factor to go into surgery was because she was developing left ventricle hypertrophy of her heart. So her heart was actually starting to enlarge because she was working so hard to breathe. And the supraglottoplasty was giving her enough room in her airway to breathe that then the LVH of her heart resolved.
Goodness. And how old was she when she went under to have surgery?
She was diagnosed at 5 weeks old, but didn't have surgery until she was 4 months old. And that was partly because it was in 2010 and not a lot of doctors were even doing the surgery. So we had to take her out of state to get a second opinion, then find a doctor back here in New Jersey who would do the surgery. And part of why Tara and I are so committed to coping with laryngomalacia is so that way we can help other parents find good ENTs to get their child the proper treatment that is needed.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And this is specifically done by ear, nose, and throat doctor. There's not other specialties that cover this surgery, I wouldn't assume. Is that right?
Correct. It's normally the ear, nose, and throat doctor. Yes.
Okay. So individually, did y'all end up having the surgery done within your current states? After it was all said and done, did you find someone locally that did that surgery?
Yes.
Yes.
Both of you? Okay. Okay, that's very good. Yeah, I mean, I know Houston has, it's such a medical hub, but I'm very curious now of the ENT surgeons I know, who does this surgery and who doesn't. So, a lot of them either focus on adults or, they're more in the pediatric realm. So do you know if your doctors are specifically pediatric ENTs, or is it by chance they're both adult and pediatric?
My
Both.
daughter's
The
ENT
one.
is pediatric.
Sorry, go ahead. You can go ahead, Tara, and then.
The ENT we had in Jacksonville was pediatric, and the one we have here in Pensacola is pediatric as well.
Okay, and I would assume the same for you, Stephanie? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and that would make the most sense. I had an ENT on last week who does a lot of different surgeries. He happens to be more adult focused, but in his earlier career, he did surgeries in his residency with children and actually creating like entire ears for them that were born without him. So it was very interesting. Yeah, I knew him as, he's a plastic and an ENT. So I knew him, more on that plastic side, and then he enlightened me about the ENT and then what he had done with children. So pretty incredible. But so that's the type of doctor that basically helps your children as well as other children with this condition. Is there any other treatment that they would undergo with other types of specialists leading up to that surgery, or is it solely related to just an ENT contact for them? And sorry, I'll direct that question back at you, Stephanie.
So normally, the ENT will do the surgery. The ENT scopes the child in office to determine the laryngomalacia. But if the laryngomalacia is severe, the ENT may suggest having a sleep study, which then would probably bring in a pulmonologist. And in my daughter's case, she had the laryngomalacia was affecting her heart. So then we then brought in a cardiologist as well. And some children with severe laryngomalacia actually need a neurologist because they have an underlying neurological condition as well. So usually there is a team of doctors in addition to the ear, nose, and throat doctor.
It sounds like it, yeah. I was thinking about pulmonology, anytime you're relating to like the airways and different things, that becomes a common doctor that steps in, and sleep studies, being able to also gather diagnoses. Let's touch on the insurance side of it, or the lack thereof. I'm not sure, but Tara, is this something that insurance covers for your children, or is it something you have to pay out of pocket?
Luckily for us, TRICARE was really great about the airway surgery that Jace needed.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, as being a military family, TRICARE covers quite a bit. And what about you guys, Stephanie? Do y'all have private insurance, or how was it covered?
Yes, it was covered through my husband's insurance, thankfully.
Okay. So what is the statistics with this? How many children have it, like in, kind of they'll do 10 in every 1,000, or is it a very common? What are the numbers on that? I don't know if either of you guys have that stat. Probably you do. Do you know, Stephanie?
So laryngomalacia is considered common, but severe laryngomalacia is not common. So
Okay.
Noisy breathing for laryngomalacia makes up, I believe it's about 50 to 70% of noisy breathing in children will have laryngomalacia. But like I said before, only about 20% will need surgery. The rest will need no medical intervention at all.
Okay, very good information. And I noticed here there was something, the Luthi lamb. Luthi lamb, it's like is this a stuffed animal or like a mascot for the company? Talk about that a little bit, Stephanie.
Yes. So my daughter had a stuffed animal lamb that she would bring to the hospital, to doctor's visits. It was her best friend. And one day I just thought, why not make this lamb, who's been so special to my daughter and her journey, available to everybody? So Lou the lamb was born. He also has laryngomalacia and needed surgery. And parents can purchase a stuffed animal online from our organization's website, and he's also included in our care packages. And then in 2017, when Tara joined Coping with LM, we began brainstorming, and last year we were able to announce the birth, I guess you could say, of the rest of the CWL crew. So we now have Trey the Tracheomalacia tiger, Bree the Bronchiomalacia bunny, and
cute.
Pax the Pharyngomalacia pony.
Great. So Tara, do you have one of each of these at home with your kids? Are these?
I do. Yeah.
That is awesome.
I have the whole set.
So, and these can be. So there's a website, and we're getting close to having a wrap. So I want to get all the information out there. So, like, what's the website where? I guess they can connect through social media as well. But is there also a website they can go on and fill out the form to potentially get a care package or even purchase some of these little stuffed animals too?
Yes, so our website is copingwithlm.org, and we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Coping with LM. And parents can go to our website at any time. They can look through our programs. They can join our support group on Facebook, and then you can also donate directly to the organization from our website as well.
Oh, great. Well, I appreciate both of your time, Tara and Stephanie. It's been lovely meeting you. you both and learning about this, what for me seemed to be rare, but it sounds like it's more common than I would expect. But I hope someone out there was able to learn more and maybe enlighten them to what exactly is going on with their child. So we will provide the link to y'all's website so that others can find you guys. And we hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And thank you all, Hatching for Health fans, for tuning in to another episode. And we will see you next week after the new year.